It's May 7th, 1994, and another remarkable event is about to be uncovered by Arion, Rebecca, and Olly, the Retrospectors.
So it was on this day in 1994 that Edvard Munch's most famous painting, The Scream, was recovered after being stolen that February. The theft had happened early in the morning. Norway is about to host the Winter Olympics in Lillehammer, and to celebrate the occasion, there is a big display in the National Art Museum in Oslo. But unfortunately, a team of thieves, led by former professional footballer Pal Enger, basically the easiest art heist ever, they climbed up a ladder, broke a window, snatched the painting, left a postcard that said, "Thanks for the poor security," and made off with it.
There's no need for that, is there?
It's very cheeky.
He is the most amazing guy. The more you hear about him, the more you can't help but like him. He was an ex-professional footballer, played with the Norwegian club Vålerenga. But apparently, even though at the time this club had qualified for the Europa League, the wages were so low that pretty much everyone on the team had a side hustle.
Had to be an art thief.
Yeah.
They were pushed into it.
Well, but bizarrely, some of them, their side hustle was actually being policemen.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a hot second. Are you saying that some of his footballing associates that were on his team ended up then policing the theft he was responsible for?
Not this theft, but a previous theft that he also did. His police buddies, or his footballing buddies, got wise to the fact that he was being incredibly profligate with his tracksuits. Apparently, he was throwing away his tracksuits at the end of each training session, and they were like, "Who is this guy just throwing away his clothes like they ain't nothing?" When we were all obviously massively underpaid. They thought, "What's he up to?" And they then somehow, through various circumstances, found out that he had this massive treasure trove, this side business of thieving, and this picture, Vampire by Edvard Munch.
Especially in Norway, because even an H&M tracksuit in Norway is going to set you back a bit, isn't it? Everything's very expensive there. £8 for a beer.
Then Pal Enger promptly went to prison. When he came out in 1994, a mystery admirer of his work commissioned him to steal the Scream. And this person even said, "You can do what you want with the painting." They didn't even want the painting. It makes sense in a way because it's far too famous to sell.
Just to be clear, because some people we haven't actually said, so Edvard Munch's The Scream is the thing that's on the Scream mask, right? Just to give you a low culture reference. It's the man, open mouth, eyes wide open, hands raised to cheeks, screaming, and everything behind him all swirly, right? It's like one of the most famous paintings of all time.
And there are actually 4 versions of it, 2 pastel and 2 paint.
They stole one of the 2 paint versions, though both of the painted versions have been stolen in their history.
It's a very stealable painting.
It does rather suggest that actually, like, art of value might be better in private hands. Like, I want them in museums so the public can see them, but museums don't seem to be able to look after them very well.
Well, to be fair, when the other copy was stolen in 2004, it was hanging on the wall by a wire, and all they did was lean up and clip it with wire cutters and just walk out of the museum with it. So
good tip, that, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't learn a lot.
How to take a picture down. Yeah.
Well, it transpired later that the person who had hired Pal Enger was a member of the Tveita crime gang who wanted to create a distraction. And while the police were out looking for the painting, they actually carried out multiple heists.
Wow.
And Pal Enger was not exactly the most subtle criminal. You may have already noticed he's got a bit of a flair for drama. Not only was he a suspect because he had previously stolen another Munch painting, he placed a newspaper birth notice when his son was born that said he arrived med ett skrik, meaning with a scream. He may as well have put a wink face emoji after it.
Or a scream emoji these days.
And then he was caught shortly after in a joint sting by British and Norwegian expert police who arranged for him to pay him off posing as art dealers. Then they obviously promptly caught him.
So the Metropolitan police said, "We've got 250 grand, we'll buy it." So that's how they did it, because you weren't expecting a Brit police officer to be on the case, even though it's, like, as I say, one of the world's most famous paintings.
I mean, fascinatingly, the fake identity that the police officer, Charlie Hill, who actually died this year, assumed when he was trying to convince Pal Enger to sell him the painting, was as a representative of the Getty Museum. And I was like, okay, hang on. What? First of all...
That's how these things are done.
Would the Getty actually get in touch with an art thief and say, "Yes, please, we'd like to buy your painting"? Either there's this whole underworld that I don't know about going on in the actual legitimate display of high and fine art, or this was not the most subtle and cunning of ruses that Charlie Hill set up. but he recognized the artwork because apparently Hill had this amazing eye, because Munch had actually blown out a candle and splattered some wax onto this version of the Scream. There were 4, but this one had this particular and very recognizable wax on it, and he managed to see that and knew that it was the actual one.
So you're probably wondering now what happened to Pal Enger, because you can probably imagine that he did not go quietly. He was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison. He briefly escaped in 1999 whilst on a prison outing and was captured 12 days later wearing a blonde wig and trying to buy a ticket to Denmark. Mm-hmm. He actually started painting during one of his stints in prison in 2007. And in 2011, he had his own exhibition of abstract works. However, if you're expecting this story to end with the rehabilitation of Pal Enger, in 2016, he was convicted of stealing multiple prints and paintings and sentenced to another few years in prison.
And why is it we're doing the same crime? Like, do something like nick some lip seals from Superdrug or do something different.
Yeah, I mean, in the latest articles I could find from 2017, 2018, he's still quite pleased with himself, and he claims that Netflix are in talks to make a TV series about his life, which might actually be true, because I think it would be a pretty good
quite
TV
good.
series.
I mean, we're making a podcast episode about him. We haven't paid you anything, mate. What do you think of The Scream as a painting? Because, I mean, it is one of the kind of like 4 or 5 most famous paintings in the world. Does it speak to you?
I think it's cool. And in fact, one thing that I read about it is that a simplified version of it, that quintessential face with hands next to it, was being considered by the US Department of Energy as one of the pictographs to symbolize in a non-language specific way danger from nuclear radiation. I think it does capture something about terror or fear or anguish that is quite interesting, really.
The thing that does it for me is there's 2 blokes in the background walking along the bridge or whatever it is, who are just getting on with their day. Like they might be
but
fishing.
I think don't you think that makes it like more relevant than ever?
Yes.
Though it's about the anguish of the human condition and how you can be in a perfectly normal setting, like a bridge with other people who are just enjoying the means to cross water.
Yeah, whereas
and
you're feeling like the whole world's swirling around you.
It's an incredible painting. And I can definitely see why you would want to steal it and have it in your house, but I can also see why it would be extremely difficult to sell.
Did he ever do a happy painting, though, Munch? Or did he only do the sad ones? Because I looked up, like, if you Google Edvard Munch, the other big one appears to be one called Melancholy, and the third one is one called The Sick Child. It's like the Radiohead of visual art. I mean, even when he did a sexy picture, it was the Virgin Mary. So there's always like a weirdness to the things that he painted.
There's always baggage.
Yeah.
Probably found a thing that sold, and it was miserable people on bridges. And
well, that's I guess why he did 4 versions of The Scream, isn't it? True. Actually, like now that's what we're used to, isn't it? Damien Hirst doing Endless Dots, but I guess he was actually ahead of that, like 100 years ahead of that. People liked The Scream, so he just kept doing it.
Absolutely.
I was keen to find out whether the classic image, I would say competitive with the original, of Macaulay Culkin, hands on face on the Home Alone poster, was a deliberate parody of The Scream or not. I have the answer here.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Rebecca?
I mean, obviously, Home Alone is so laced with allusions to classical art that it's easy to believe that could be intentional.
There are multiple intelligent creatives involved in that movie. There are jokes for the grown-ups. Arion?
I reckon deliberate, maybe. It just looks too similar and right. Macaulay Culkin wasn't, even in his heyday as a 7-year-old, wasn't that good an actor.
I think that Macaulay Culkin improvised it in the studio.
So it's kind of both. So the answer is like, no, it wasn't a deliberate parody in the script, because you wouldn't think to do that in a kid's film because it's really weird. But Mac, on set, did the Scream, put the hands on the face, and then forgot to take the hands away when he went, ah, and that was take 1. And they all fell about laughing. And then the executive from the film company saw the rushes that day and was like, that's an iconic moment. We need to keep that. I want all the posters to be a parody of The Scream with him doing that. It was intentional for the artwork for the film, but it wasn't in the script.
Does that mean that the 2 figures on the bridge are the wet bandits?
Yeah. Look carefully, and that is Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, and they're about to fall into a load of paint, and it's hilarious.
Tomorrow.
No wonder customers loved it. It was laced with cocaine and caffeine.
Ditch the ads and get a Sunday episode when you join Club Retrospectors. Patreon.com/Retrospectors.